The tribe of I am is about the human journey, and that, well, here we are, right, on this planet and living our lives, and most times not having the support or the education of who we are and what we're here to do. And so when complications arise, and they always do in this three-dimensional experience, our typical reaction is stress and worry, unhappiness, feeling unloved, feeling disconnected, feeling unworthy, anger, frustration, self doubt, depression,
and a few others.
and a few others. And something as simple as knowing that we are all on the human journey, which is full of troubles, I guess I could say. Knowing that we're not alone makes a huge difference. The tribe of I am is an invitation to everyone, because meaning it's a place where anyone and everyone belongs. And in fact, the tribe of I am is the human family. So much in our world has informed us that we're so different, and since we come from different places and have different experiences, that means all the other experiences are wrong, or that maybe even my experience is wrong. And that type of thinking has caused a lot of agitation for us. And little has we live in this information age, but not much of that information is telling us that our diversity is actually beautiful, that our differences are worth learning about and discovering. Because when I learn about and discover something different or unique about another person and where they come from and what their experiences are, then I have more information about who I am. And that can be a really encouraging thing. It's definitely a positive thing. It might be uncomfortable just for a little bit, but the more I engage with that and don't hide from it or run from it, then the more likely I am to learn to appreciate it and to learn to seek more experiences that help me expand my boundaries or think outside the box that I'm accustomed to. There are some great stories of humans, and I'm going to go way back in time. And I'm going to start with a man whose name was, today we call him Moses, but in his original tongue or language, his name was Moshe. And Moshe was born at a time when it was illegal for a male of his heritage and descent to be born. And so he was immediately under the threat of death as a newborn child. And his mom was able to hide him for, I believe, 3 months before she uh, put him into a woven basket and placed him into the river, because she realized that she couldn't hide him anymore, but perhaps life would provide for Moses and he would be taken care of some kind of way. And sure enough, Moses was found by the king's daughter and was adopted. And she knew he was one of the babies that weren't to be born, but she took him. And I assume all daughters have some kind of what's the word I'm looking for here, with how a daughter can persuade her father. um, I would like to think that she had that kind of relationship with her dad, and so Moses was allowed to live, and he was raised as one of the king's children. And later, he saw injustice because his people were slaves. He saw injustice and killed one of the king's employees because they were treating one of the slaves unjustly. And so he ran away in fear. That because of what he did, he ran away in fear. And in his running away and perhaps grappling with his own identity, who am I? I know that I was born and I wasn't supposed to live, but I grew up in the king's palace. Who am I? I'm torn between worlds, and I saw injustice and I hated it. And through that, he found himself. He found his identity, and he was also transformed. And he was the deliverer of the people. He came back to the kingdom years later with a new purpose, which was to free his people. And there's also a man by the name of Avraham in ancient Hebrew. He was born to son of the king's second man, or second in command. And this was the kingdom of Babylon, where they worshipped a number of idols and they performed sacrifices of all sorts, but specifically human sacrifice was a thing. And the short of the story is Abraham ended up having to run from there as well, because his true identity was calling out to him, and the way Babylonian worship was going and human sacrifice, he could see the injustice again. Then he had a call and a purpose on his life to speak out about such things. And so at a young age, he also was under the threat of death. And his father hid him away, but Abraham ended up having to come back and take care of some things in his family and say some things directly to the king. Coincidentally, he ended up, speaking to the king directly and saying, what you're doing is not right, and all human lives are created equally. So Abraham felt a call on his life to leave everything he'd ever known, which was the life of his family and their lifestyle in Babylon. And because they're second to the king, they're very wealthy. And so his challenge was to leave all that behind and go to a place that he had no clue where he'd end up, but he knew he couldn't stay. So he left. And Abraham, as we know now, is the father of many nations, and there are a couple major world religions that call him father. And again, the transformation process is what put him in that place of that we know his name to this day. And the transformation process is what that the name Moses still means something important to us to this very day. And there are so many other stories of transformation. And I would like to say that you and I, each one of us, are likely similar stories where we came into this world into the family or the situation that we're born into, and life just wasn't easy. Maybe you weren't really what was expected. Sometimes that surprise, the surprise of the child, right, is not always welcome. Or and science can now tell us that that has a huge impact on the baby that is yet to be born. That those emotions are real. Whatever the mother's feeling, the baby is sensing and is connected to. And so we live and we grow up through a variety of challenges. And we experience trauma, we experience drama, we experience pain and hurt, we experience just wanting to fit in and perhaps being bullied or looked down upon or whatever our experience might be. There are so many of them, right? There are myriads of human experiences. And then life gives us this awakening call, or like a shakening, like, okay, it's time to snap out of this, it's time to wake up, and it's very uncomfortable. And it happens once, and then twice, and then a third time, and then a fourth time, and it happens multiple times, but it kind of creates this theme that there is more to us and more for us than we are presently aware of and paying attention to. But since the shakening is happening, then I'm starting to think, oh, there's more. I have no clue what that means, but I feel it, I sense it. Maybe I'm a little uncomfortable with it. Maybe I'll try to ignore it for now. And then the next awakening or and shakening happens. And for some of us, we have to hit a literal rock bottom. I would like to think when Moses left the kingdom and realized that he had murdered a person and he didn't know who he was, that that was some type of rock bottom that led to his transformation. There was also a man by the name of Jacob, Yaakov in ancient Hebrew, who his name literally means he is the ensnarer. He's deceptive. Uh, he's tricky, and he did take advantage of his firstborn brother. They were twins, but his brother was born first, and the way they were born showed that Jacob was going to be on his heels, trying to get the upper hand the whole way. Because even as the firstborn came out of the womb, Jacob had him by the foot. Trying to be first. And sure enough, later in life, Jacob took his birthright deceptively, right? You can't just take someone's birthright, but his brother was maybe not so wise and handed it over to him when he was in desperate need of food. So he traded his birthright for a bowl of soup. And Jacob knew what he was doing nonetheless. Anyway, his older brother, whose name is Esau, was much stronger and far more angry. And later in life, Jacob worried that his brother was going to try to kill him because he had every supposedly every good that his brother had coming to him through the line of birthright. Now Jacob had. And Jacob had this moment where he sent his whole family across the river because he knew his brother was on the other side. He sent gifts and servants first, and then his family, his brothers, nieces, and nephews, and sister-in-law. Okay, now you guys go. Maybe by the time I cross, his heart will have softened and he will receive me. And before he was able to cross the river, and the name of the river is Jabbok, and it means the place of, oh wow, the meaning is actually escaping me. The place of change, or the place of, it's something like the place of change, meaning when you cross this river, you will have changed. And before he could cross, this mysterious man shows up and wrestles with him. in Jacob 1. And the story, it's a very ancient story, just saying that he wrestled with God that night before he was going to cross over, and he was given a new name. And being given a new name is that transformative element. His name went from Jacob to Israel, one who contends or wrestles with God. And his brother received him openly. The point of me telling the story is about the transformation and how even from the womb he was fighting to be first. And how is that any different than any of us? In the sense that we want to be seen, we want to be accepted, we want to feel important, we want to be loved. This is being first. And he was fighting for it as a twin. He deceptively took it in his life, and then he hit this rock bottom place where he was like, I think I'm going to die, and I'm willing to risk everything, sending my family and gifts and everything first before I cross over. And he wrestled with God, which I think is a way of saying he wrestled with himself. He wrestled with himself, and that's where the transformation came in. Something was very humbling about that wrestling match, where he realized, yes, I'm strong, but I'm also vulnerable. And something must have humbled him in that experience. We're not unlike Jacob in that at times we've been willing to do whatever it takes to come out first or to get someone's attention. We've been willing to wear whatever mask is necessary in order to fit in or to receive approval. And then we end up realizing that that doesn't work as well as we thought it might. So then what am I to do, and who am I? Because I've been acting this way for so long, I don't know who I really am. And if we're willing to wrestle with God, if we're willing to wrestle with our true self, then the transformation can happen and we get a name change. And I don't know if you've ever sensed it. I don't know if you've sensed the name change, but there does come a day where you feel so different in your own skin, and you still feel so fresh and so new. You feel so changed. You know that you're no longer thinking the way you used to think. And you know that no matter what happens, you're not going to stop walking this path of new life that you've discovered. And it brings you a new sense of life and a new sense of purpose. And this experience is what I'll call the name change. If you haven't sensed it, that experience is available for you and to you immediately. Right now, it's available. It's always ready for your participation. If you have sensed it, then I hope you know what you're here to do. I hope you know why the transformation was necessary and where it's sending you. And if you don't know, then that's a large part of why I exist on this planet. It's why THV exists, is to help people discover identity and purpose. Who am I? What am I here to do? And then briefly, or right next following that is, and how will I do it? How will I get it done? The tribe of I am. Every person comes into this life and the journey is already set. You are here to discover what has been lost. And that means you're born into a world, you're born into a culture that doesn't have anything to tell you about that. Your culture and your family will not tell you who you are and what you're here to do. Your culture nor your family will will tell you it's okay to just be you. You don't have to fit in to any of these things. um, and so the journey begins. The troubles begin. The trials and tribulations begin. The stress begins. The self-doubt begins. The lack of feeling worthy begins. And that is our journey. And the journey is so worth it. It is so full of opportunity to awaken to who and what you truly are. Do you two have any thoughts?
Well, I feel like I spent my whole life in transformation, and it's become my theme. The story of the butterfly has always been my kind of my guiding light. The fact that we start out as the little caterpillars, munching our way through all the trees and being really obnoxious, really. I mean, caterpillars are pretty obnoxious. And then they turn into, this beautiful winged creature. And when I compare that to my own life, all the trauma, the childhood stuff, the dysfunction, the whole thing. The thing that I admire about the caterpillar into the butterfly transformation is it knew it all along. It always knew that it was going to be a butterfly, even when it didn't know.
Right.
It was programmed in there. And one thing that I found out that I thought was really profound is that it takes 7 generations for the monarch butterfly to get from Mexico to Alaska. So not only was the program in the caterpillar, but through the butterfly, through the egg, into the next generation, it knew where it was going.
Amazing.
And so I've used that as a point of faith that I know where I'm going. I just may not be fully conscious of it. And that's been my journey, is to become fully conscious of it. I call it Christ consciousness. And it's really pretty simple. Like you say, you breathe. And you allow. The thought of going into a cocoon, like Moses and Abraham, and just dumping everything and going into a cocoon, and going not only into a cocoon, but into some kind of plasma stuff that you even left your whole body thing and changed it into something else.
Wow. Yep.
Is pretty profound. So I'm sort of done with I'm going to be 75 next month. So I'm sort of done with all the trauma part. I just don't see any value in it anymore. I don't have any tolerance for it anymore. So when I'm in a new gathering or in a new situation, I'm more able to observe it from a different place.
Right.
And to love the people while they're in their trauma, because they still think it's real important to them, to their identity. And that's okay. So
right.
That's sort of, and I did change my name.
Did you?
I did. I changed it to Wing Quest. The wing is for butterflies, angels, and birds, and the freedom of flight. And the quest is my spiritual journey, so I put a capital Q in the name
Wing Quest.
and had it changed legally so that it could be mine.
That's awesome. I appreciate you speaking about the chrysalis because I've been thinking about that lately as I've spent the first quarter of this year in my own chrysalis. I had a legal name change at the end of last year. And my new name fits my purpose. And my new name means righteous. And after the name change, I feel like I've been in this chrysalis, waiting to become a butterfly, knowing what my purpose is, but still trying to identify how I fit into this new world. So that's really, when you speak about the butterfly and you speak about the name change, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think the new world is upon us. The curiosity and the excitement for me is watching the whole thing awaken. Even COVID and all that, I think it was all part of the rumbling, the taking off of all the old and bringing in the new kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't fear that kind of stuff anymore. Like now we've got Ukraine, and it's just like, I wonder what this means to us.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, the thing that I am hopeful about is that there are so many people who are actually praying, not trying to fight the war or abolish the war, but they're praying for peace.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Very peacefully.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, they're not trying to make big shows out of it or have marches or, you know, all those kinds of showy things. They're just quietly praying for peace.
Yeah.
And I love it.
That's it. That's it. We can definitely affect change without doing anything, which is another really mysterious yet self-evident part of the journey. Is most of what we're experiencing at the three-dimensional level is always about doing something. But when we talk about the human essence, when we talk about human identity, who and what we actually are, we don't have to do anything. We just get to be who we are. And that changes things, instantly changes things. And we've become very reliant upon science, especially in the last 50 to 70 years. And so while we may have imagined that we've made progress scientifically, we've actually, in some ways, perhaps it's a little of the opposite, because science is only now confirming what the ancient wisdom has been saying for ages. So while we waited for science, we were at a standstill when we should have just kept with what we already had. And then and now science has caught up a little bit, and now we can just shrug it off and say, yeah, of course, like that was the ancient way for ages. So that's not a big deal, you know. But science can now measure the power of prayer, and they've done some pretty amazing experiments with groups of people, large and small, who pray about a specific issue in the world at a specific time, and they measure what's happening. And then the police department in that area reports back and says, yes, we had a 25% decrease in violence at that time period. Things like that are happening. And it's maybe to the larger public, it's still unknown, but for those of us who are paying attention, we're aware that it's a thing. And these are just people being who they are in a quiet space and intending upon the same circumstance or the same event, and can affect change. We cannot forget the power. Well, perhaps we have forgotten, and we are reawakening to the power of who and what we are. And when the ancient Hebrew scriptures says that mankind was made in the image of God, it's very interesting to read that in English. It's not a great translation to say being created in the image of God. Is like, it's a bit like seeing the outside of the structure with having no idea of how the structure is actually built. What is the actual blueprint of that? How is it that humans are the image of God? And another way of saying it is humans are the reflection of God. And then you have to think, okay, well, what is a reflection? And when I go to the mirror and I see a reflection, I'm not seeing I'm not seeing a copy of me. I'm seeing my direct image. So for us to be the image of God means we are the direct reflection of what we call God. And God later told Moses, when Moses was having his transformative season of his life, he said, I am that I am. This is my name forever. I am. And so if you are, and if you are even hearing that question, you must exist. That means you are, and you have been saying since as early as you could formulate a sentence on your own, you've been saying, I am. That means I am self-aware. I exist. This is the name of God. It is conscious awareness in human form. The power of the I am, or the power of conscious awareness, is limitless, and limitlessness is somehow housed in this form. And maybe that's not the most accurate way of saying it. Maybe maybe it's holographic, and a hologram is when you see an image. Let's just say some kind of way a flower exists within a flower, and within a flower, and within a flower. And this is a hologram. It's like each piece is perfect. It's a perfect flower within a perfect flower within a perfect flower, and so on and so forth. And I can't draw anything like that, but some people can actually draw geometrical shapes and make each one be perfect on its own, with another perfect one in the middle, and another perfect one in the middle, and another perfect one in the middle. And a hologram means if we change anything about one of them, we change all of them, because they're all the same thing. And so when we talk about conscious awareness, that everything that lives is life itself, then we're talking about some type of holographic reality. And this is why I have access to the whole, because I am one with the whole. Though I am this small yet fully formed aspect of the whole. Why don't we try a little bit of prayer / meditation? I would like to clarify that prayer and meditation are on par as the same thing. Religiously, religiously, the words prayer and meditation are treated separately. But even in the ancient Hebrew writings, which today we call the Bible, there's talk of prayer and there's also talk of meditation. And I'm saying they're the same thing. And furthermore, in English, we have this other word that's called concentration. And we think concentration is being able to focus on thoughts, but by definition, concentration means coming to singleness of thought. So meditation is actually what we're doing if we sit at a computer and we go, okay, just for 15 minutes, I'm going to focus on getting these few things done. That means I have 3 things in my mind that I'm focused on and putting my energy into bringing to some kind of rest or completion. And that is actually meditation, is being able to see the multiple thoughts and work with them. Concentration means now I'm just down to one thought only. One thought only. So prayer and meditation and concentration, they have a way of working together, and we're going to explore that a little bit for the next 5 to 10 minutes. And we're going to start just by breathing, because it is the breath of life that makes all of this possible. We breathe in deep, and then we just let go. We breathe in fully, and then we let go. We breathe in fully, and we let go. And we just keep doing that on your own pace. And you'll begin to feel tingling and sensations in your body, because the breath of life is what connects you to life energy. So you start feeling the tingling because the energy is literally increasing within you. The cells of your body are taking in more oxygen, which means they are taking on more energy or are becoming more energetic, and you can feel it. The more you breathe, you'll feel your fingertips begin to tingle, the extremities of your face, your lips, your nose will begin to tingle, your toes will begin to tingle. And as we keep breathing, I just want to tell you that this is the inner space. It's been called many things. The ancient scripture has called it the kingdom of God, which is within. It's been called the secret place. It's been called the closet of prayer. It's been called the temple of God. It's been called the mountain of God. It is some amazingly sacred place that it seems nearly impossible to get to. That is what these words have kind of meant for us, religiously speaking. But I'm saying we can experience it just by breathing, and we close our eyes so we can focus within. And when we're here in this place right now, we can take the time to see all the thoughts, and remember that's meditation. It means I sit here in my chair and I see the thoughts as they come and go. I may take note of the sound of the refrigerator coming on and off and the clock tick-tocking. These are all thoughts coming and going. I may hear a number of sounds. I may have thoughts of yesterday and what I'm doing after this. These are all thoughts. But I don't have to go and turn off the fridge or remove the battery from the clock, or I don't have to do anything. I can sit here and just see these thoughts come and go. This is meditation. And now here comes the concentration piece. While these things are coming and going, like the sound of the cars driving by, I'm still here. And this is the sense of the great I am. I exist here and I exist now. Everything else is coming and going except me. And this is how I know that I am. This is how I know that I have some kind of power, because I'm here. All the concerns and the worries and distractions, they come and go, and I don't even have to get entangled, or I don't have to become bothered by them. So even in our day-to-day, when stress arrives, this is still something just coming and going. I don't have to become bothered. I remain here and now. I am what is here and now. And that instantly makes you the image of God because, well, here and now is God. God is here and now. The great I am is here and now. And so are you. You are not coming and going. You are here and you are now. But all the concerns and thoughts and worries and even people and relationships, whatever, all the other things are coming and going. And in the place of concentration where you realize, I'm still here, but everything else has come and gone. Now is the time to pray. Now you're in the secret place. Now you're in the kingdom. Now is the time to pray. And pray doesn't mean begging. It means stay in this place of power that is here and now. And imagine, use your mind and your words to paint the picture of what it is you would love to experience. I would love to experience peace in my family. And I imagine what that looks like and how good it feels, and I connect to it. Whatever you would love to see, when you reach the place of here and now in pure concentration, pure awareness of great I amness, you get to see it and you get to call it forth. This is why many of the ancient scriptures from a variety of cultures talk about the power of the words, the power of the word, the power in what we say, the power in what we believe. What is it that you would love to experience? And this has something to do with change. I'm saying, what is it would you love to see changed? And focus on the positive part of that. I would love to see this. I would love to see this in my bank account. Or I would love to see myself in a healthier physical state. All things are possible for those who believe. So what you have access to when you go into prayer, meditation, and concentration is totally up to you. The boundaries are unlimited. As far as you can imagine is what you can picture with your mind and what you can put into words. And even if you cannot speak, seeing it is enough. I would like to tell you that though the world, meaning your family, your loved ones, friends, TV commercials, the world has informed you that you are not enough or that you are not good enough. And that is a lie. If you are the image of God, and you are, that means no value can be placed upon you. You are great. You are great. If you're breathing the breath of life, if you can hear the sound of my voice, that means you are. That means you are sacred because the breath of life is flowing in and out of you. If you're listening to my voice, that means the call is on you. The journey that we talked about earlier, the opportunity for transformation and change. It is what you are being called to. It's why we seek love, and it's why we seek answers, and it's why we feel pain. All of that is part of the journey that brings us to the transformation point where we go, okay, enough's enough. Something has to change. So all of the struggle is part of the purpose. It brings us to the awakening. Without the struggle, we would just remain as simple-minded and immature as when we began. But the struggle is what provides the opportunity for us to go, I've had enough, and I'm ready for more than this.
So where does the ego fit?
Where does the ego fit? Well, I would like to say that all of the lies that you hear in your head, that is the ego. And by simply going into prayer, meditation, concentration, you immediately gain the upper hand over the ego because you begin to see that you are not your thoughts, they come and go. You are not the pains in your body, they also come and go. You are here and now, which is I am, the name of God, the name of conscious awareness, I am. And so the greater part of you is truly divine, is truly sacred. This is why we're called children of God. And the ego will not stop trying to lead you astray. But this is why also ancient scriptures from all over the world have something to say about the good thinking, good thoughts, whatever is noble and virtuous and healthy. Think on these things because the ego is always there to give you a problem to consider, to give you something to stress about. And so ego actually plays a part in this journey as well, because if we're saying it is the trials and tribulation that bring us to the point of awakening, well, the only thing causing trial and tribulation for the human being is actually the ego. It is the part of me that's always worried and concerned that I'm not good enough. And so I'll do whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable with me and like me. I'll try to fit in. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll even take a bite off the tree, right? Because the serpent, which is another word for the ego, told Eve that she wasn't good enough, and God was trying to deceive. God was trying to deceive her so that she wouldn't be just like God. So even the ego actually has a role to play in helping us move toward waking up and experiencing the transformation. We don't have to fight with ego. We just simply listen to the suggestions that are negative, all the negative thoughts, all the negative suggestions. We listen and see that they come and go, but I am still here. And this is why I know that's not me. That's the ego. Another word for ego is the serpent. Another word for the serpent is the devil. Another word for the devil is the adversary. It's also been called Satan. And this is all within the human experience. This is all within you. So I can create hell on earth because I have an ego. I can go around causing problems in other people's lives because I have an ego. But as we walk this journey and we awaken more and more, we begin to see that that's not who we truly are, and we would prefer not to act in certain ways and engage in certain types of behavior, the very things that you were saying. And this is how ego continually loses the battle day by day. And ego is very subtle sometimes. Sometimes that negative thought will sneak up on you, and then you'll have a moment and you'll go, oh, I definitely just spoke in a mean way, or I was definitely frustrated, or I was certainly angry for a bit. And there's nothing wrong with realizing that you made that mistake, because realization is the part of transformation versus not realizing it and thinking that you're doing well. You have any thoughts, Kim? No pressure. Well, the tribe of I Am will be meeting on Sundays from 3 to about 4. And some days we may focus a little more on our troubles so we can call out the ego more. The more we can see ego in our lives, the more it sets us up for success later. So it is necessary sometimes for us to use that as a lesson, as a way to learn. And then other days it'll be more like this, where we'll just talk about the journey and try to jump ahead in our way of thinking about what the world has told us versus who we truly are. And any questions about, well, how do I know I am that I am? How do I actually know that? Or you may say, but my history is so full of trouble and bad things that I've done. How can you say that I'm worth anything, or that I'm sacred at all? Or yeah, there are so many angles to come at this with. And the most important thing in the tribe of I Am is knowing that you are part of the human family, and that in and of itself is a special thing. And none of our differences ultimately matter, because love, the ancient scriptures say God is love. Love does not care about the differences. The human beings are the ones making up the problems about difference. And we would like to move past that so we can begin creating the lives that we love, begin creating the families we love, the neighborhoods we love, the communities and cities that we love. That's all I have for now.
So what I have come to understand for myself is that whenever I get reactive or triggered or feel like I have to